been waiting for the right time to dig up my main row here of New Zealand yams, the oca. And I dug one plant up a month ago just to see how it was doing, and it was pretty good. But you really do have to wait till most of the foliage has died off before you get the ultimate big crop of oca. And if you dig them up too soon, there'll be lots of little ones which won't really make the crop as worthwhile because they do take up a lot of space through the growing year. But the thing is with this crop is that you've got to wait until they're big enough, but also you've got to go in and harvest them before rodents and other wildlife come and dig them up. And that's a problem in my garden. So I've already been around in the garden today, and Josie's been helping me dig these up. So these came from 3 plants that I had scattered around. And the big crop, hopefully, is here behind me. I think I've got 4 plants planted here in this row. These plants over here, those are celeriac, another winter veg. But here, about a foot and a half apart are the oca plants. And you can see the base of one here. There's another one just here. And then 2 more. So there's one here and then another one just down here. This crop isn't for every growing zone. It's for places like here, the British Isles. It's for parts of South America where they're originally from. It's for New Zealand, where it's really popular in both the supermarkets and in gardens. And then in growing zones 8B to 10, 11 in the States, there's a couple of things going on here about their ideal climate. So first of all, they need those long days after the autumn equinox. They also need frost-free days. So the later your frost date, the better these will grow. And here in the Isle of Man, which is in the British Isles, our first frost date tends to be late November to early December. So that's plenty of time for them to get nice long days, temperate temperatures, and the foliage doesn't get killed off too early because they really do need all of these green leaves to pump nutrients into these storage tubers, which they use to grow next year. And you can share these with friends as well. So if you have one variety like I do, or I've got a couple here, you could share the colors with a friend, and digging them up is just as fun as digging up potatoes, only it's more like Easter in a way because they are so colorful and beautiful. This video is brought to you by Skillshare. Now, you're here because I know that you're creative, I know that you love learning new things, and you clearly love watching videos. And for those reasons, I think that you will love Skillshare. Instead of one-off videos, Skillshare gives you classes and learning paths made up of many videos. They're geared to be entertaining, but straight to the point. You use them to learn new skills. That includes art and illustration, creative writing, crafts and DIY, gardening, and even understanding and using AI. There are so many things that you can learn. This year, I have been getting back into watercolor and back into drawing thanks to Skillshare. And they are going to be coming in really handy over the winter as I start sketching ideas for the garden, including new plants and even some new structures. So, the first 500 people to take me up on this offer and use the link down in the video text description will get a free 1-month trial of Skillshare. Get started today. My main vegetable garden is divided into 2 parts. There's the upper part that has all of the no-dig beds surrounded by wooden edging, and then that's divided by some fruit trees to the lower part of the garden where I have the composting area and the newer beds. And what I have found is that my garden's getting a little bit big for one person to really manage. And so I'm making a really big change this next year. And everything that is going to be down here in this lower part of the garden is going to be a perennial. I already have some perennials here, like these thornless blackberries here on this trellis. There's also some asparagus, globe artichokes, raspberries, chives, and even some fruit bushes down here in the lower part. But next year, expect tons more. There's going to be lavender in here. There's already some small lavender plants overwintering. And I'm going to be moving some of the perennials from the upper part of the garden, like the kale, down here as well. So this is going to be my perennial garden. It's going to be low maintenance. And as you know, with perennials, you plant once, you harvest for years. And so this is my main strategy for keeping on top of my vegetable garden next year and ensuring a good harvest. I've also been doing tons of cleanup in the garden. And this time of the year, you often see information and memes shared around saying that it's okay to leave garden waste in situ. Leave leaves and sticks and branches and foliage where they are, and that helps wildlife and the soil, etc. Now, this is true, but if you do that in a vegetable garden scenario, you are creating places where slugs and snails and other pests can live over winter and then proliferate, explode next spring. And I've also found that they like to hide under stones and buckets and pots and things like that. Back to this wildflower bank though. I have had some incredible, beautiful displays of low maintenance wildflowers in this area over the past couple of years. On the bare sides here on the right and on the other side, I sowed seeds from RHS seed mixes and they've been beautiful. However, most of them have been annual flowers, and once they died down, weeds took over. So nettles and dock and creeping buttercup. This area here in the middle, which you can see it still has some green plants in after my weeding. This is an area that is filled with perennial wildflowers from a mix that I got from a local organization. Actually, two people involved in it, from the Mix Wildlife Trust and Mix National Heritage. It's a seed mix that's not yet available to the public, but it's doing so much better. There were so fewer weeds in this area that it was incredible. And a lot of these plants will live for years and years and years and keep coming back with beautiful displays that will continue to bring wildlife and pollinators into the garden. So the plan is that I've got more of that seed mix ordered. And once I have it, next spring, I'm going to take more weeds out of these areas, put some more compost on top, sterile compost, and then sow those same perennial seeds all across this bank. And so in that way, I'm going to be spreading the same planting that's in the center without having to disturb these relatively young plants. And I will have, hopefully, a really low maintenance and few weed planting of stunning wildflowers. I can't wait to see how it looks. In the summer, the Polycrub is heaving with plants and crops, and it's quite a bit emptier in here. There's still plenty of plants. I've got a lot of containers overwintering over here in this far bed. In the middle here, I've got some lettuces and rocket and mustard. One thing that I did this year, which was very satisfying and great to get done now in time for spring, is pressure wash the inside of the Polycrub. You can't really do that in normal polytunnels or even in greenhouses because, you know, the pressure could break the plastic or break the glass. But it worked perfectly in here, and I was able to clean way up top, all along the sides behind where the sweet potatoes were growing, and it just looks so much tidier. In this south-facing bed in the Polycrub, there are tons and tons of pots and containers. And they're there for 3 reasons. I've gathered them up from all around the back side of the house and put them in there just for the winter. The first reason being to protect tender plants, so plants that will suffer if it gets too cold. So this will give them a little bit of added protection so that hopefully they survive until spring and next year. The second reason is that some plants, like the mints I have in there, they'll start growing and produce an early crop if they're undercover. So it kind of mimics a warmer climate. The last reason is really important. It's to protect terracotta pots, and I have quite a few of them, both glazed and unglazed, and they can absorb moisture, and then if the temperatures drop and it freezes, the material will crack and the pot will be completely ruined. And this has happened. I've got a broken pot here that I'm using as a little shelter alongside the pond, little shelter for wildlife, but I don't want to lose any more pots. And so I've moved those terracotta pots in and we'll move them back out when temperatures warm up a little bit. Lastly, this bed over here on the north side, it's almost completely empty right now, which is perfect because I'm going to be covering it and it's going to be a workplace for me and a few friends to make some Christmas wreaths. And the Polycrub is going to help keep us dry in case it rains. And obviously Christmas is coming right up. And if you would like to make a Christmas wreath as well, I showed you how to do it last year. There's a video ready and waiting, and it shows exactly how you can use little bits of greenery, little bits of ivy, maybe even cuttings from your Christmas tree to make your very own handmade natural Christmas wreath. It's perfectly natural to want to take a little time off while the garden is sleeping. We've got to rest and recharge as well. But winter's also a great time to tackle big jobs. So the types of jobs that you might not have time for once the growing season starts and once everything starts coming back to life again. So things like any kind of infrastructure, so fences, pathways, beds, things like that. And I have tons of winter gardening jobs and ideas for you if you would like to get that head start. Thanks so much for visiting me in my garden, and I hope you enjoyed having a look around with me. If you've got any questions about anything, of course, leave them as a comment down below. And if you would like even more winter gardening inspiration, definitely check out my recent video that covers 4 incredible root vegetables that you can harvest in winter. And they are unusual ones. And hint, New Zealand yams is one of them. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time for another video here on Lovely Greens. Bye for now.